Hi, I'm Felicity, a registered nurse, cosmetic injector, and founder of the Fit Injector Clinic. Welcome to my channel and video podcast streaming on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Today is episode 14, and I have Talisha joining me today. Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for coming.
I'm so excited to be here.
This is so exciting. I'm glad that we've finally organised a time to do this because you are from Victoria. So thank you so much.
Yes, my pleasure. I have brought the Melbourne weather with me though.
Yeah, I know. It was like really hot and sunny up until today.
I had like a nice day on the wharf yesterday and then it turned to rain when I had to walk to the Christmas party. So
Great.
always the way.
Of course. Now, Talisha, we met in 22 last year when you approached me for business mentoring to start your own cosmetic clinic. You followed everything I guided you with, and it has been so impressive watching you build and grow your successful business. Now, let's note that that is in a part-time capacity while maintaining your hospital nursing role, which is just incredible.
Draining, yes.
Yeah. Exhausting.
Yes.
Now, Talisha, your clinic, Injectables by T, is located in Berwick. Have I said that
Berwick.
properly? Berwick.
Yep.
And Warragul in Victoria. Now, you're here in Sydney at the moment you had the Juve Awards night last night, which looked amazing. So I appreciate you being here early this morning before you fly home.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely made sure I didn't drink too much, had cups of tea just to make sure I was, good for today.
Good for today.
My
I
voice
got the
didn't
cup
sound
of tea
too bad.
selfie on the way this morning.
Yes, literally. I love my cup of teas. Thanks to my grandma for that one. I was raised on tea.
Tea, coffee.
Yeah.
So today we're going to chat about how you started your business, the growth that you've had over the past 12 plus months, your plans for the future, and how you maintain doing shift work while managing growing your cosmetic business. Even that sounds a lot, doesn't it?
It is a lot. And I'm like, well maintained. Do I maintain it well?
Like we were saying off air, you're asking me how myself and my husband do it. We're like, we don't know.
Yeah.
You just sort of
do it.
You just take each day as it comes. Then we're also going to, because questions are so popular when I do have registered nurses on the podcast, we will be answering questions that were submitted via our followers on Instagram towards the end. So, Talisha, let's get into it and tell us a little bit about your background as a registered nurse.
So, I have been a nurse for 6 years now. I did my Bachelor of Nursing at Deakin University in Melbourne. And then I did my graduate where I did 2 rotations. So I started off in emergency and then I did a Gen Med palliative rotation as well, which I actually enjoyed it. Like, I'm really surprised. Like, I'm an ED nurse, like through and through, but Gen Med was actually good. I'd have all my notes done by like 4 o'clock on a PM shift. Like, it was actually great.
Unheard of.
Literally sit down with my cup of tea or like a Milo and just like, okay, what now?
Yeah.
But
totally different pace.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. The palliative side of it was a bit upsetting for me. So I think that's why I ended up moving on. But it was a privilege to be a part of like someone's last moments, but I definitely got too sad. So,
that gives me goosebumps. Like you're just saying that.
Yeah. So transitioned into emergency where I did like a transition into specialty practice study. And then I've been in ED since then. So I've studied, worked my way up, now I'm doing like triage and resus, like team lead level. And I'd love to do an A&M rotation, but, how far do you go? Like with, business and like the hospital, like.
How much more can you sort of fit in?
Exactly,
but
exactly.
Such a great background and current experience you've got. And I know like later on we're going to talk about like the crossover that then has into your current cosmetic clinic, which people don't expect.
Yes. There's actually some skills that, I'll discuss later about like that does transition into cosmetics even when you don't expect it.
Absolutely. So what prompted you to become a cosmetic injector firstly and then to start your own cosmetic clinic?
Well, I suppose, like the trend, like it was trendy to be a cosmetic injector. The glamorous lifestyle, the work-life balance, working for yourself, and of course, the financial incentive. But I think when COVID hit, I was feeling a bit burnt out. I really don't like night shift. I get so anxious doing night shift.
Who does?
I think
Seriously.
Just the aspect of not being able to sleep. Like, it's actually ridiculous.
Yeah.
That we have to do that. But I think I just, was forecasting my future and, I can't wait to be a mum and I just want to be a more present mum, which it's so funny because now I'm a business owner. I'm like, oh, am I going to have time to be a mum? That really just started my passion for cosmetic nursing is I just wanted a better lifestyle.
Totally.
And then my clinic, gosh. So I actually did my course during COVID. So it was very difficult, lockdown after lockdown. But then when I did my course, I actually felt like I needed to work for someone.
Yeah.
Like I needed a bit more like hands-on training and things. I think it was just my confidence. So when I finished my course, I actually was offered a job. I don't know if I've told you this actually.
No, it wasn't until I read the podcast notes that I was like, oh, we've never actually spoken about this.
So I was offered a job and like I was fully prepared to quit, the hospital. Like I was going to, go full ball into,
like
cosmetics.
full-time.
Yeah, full-time.
Okay.
Yep. The clinic was a bit far away from my house. It was like 1.5 hours, but still like I was committed to like coming in this industry. I was like, no, I'm going to do it. But then I sort of got the contract and I got a little bit scared. You probably know like what the contracts look like. I felt like I was locked in for 5 years.
Yeah.
I just felt a bit constricted and like
totally.
I was
it a chain clinic, if you don't mind me asking? You don't have to say what.
It wasn't actually. It was it wasn't a chain clinic.
Private. Interesting, because usually the chain clinics, like because I've worked for a chain clinic, their contracts are like a lot like more strict than a private one in terms of locking you in for a certain amount of years. It was
crazy.
So.
There was one, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but there was one thing on the contract that was like I can't work within 100-kilometer radius of Melbourne like 2 years post termination. And I was like, well, what am I going to do then? Like,
so having a restraint time and radius on you is normal, especially as like a contract injector, but 100 kilometers, that's the most I've ever heard.
And it's funny because like the clinic,
like that is
the clinic was actually like 2 hours away from Melbourne. So I was like,
so even, like if you left, you were not going to be a threat because you would be working closer to your home, setting up your business. So that's actually the best the longest radius I've heard yet, the most wild. So usually it's like 5 or 10 kilometers, but 100, that's like, come on.
And it was funny because like I actually didn't want to quit this job that I was going to do. Like I wanted to do both. Like with what the employer had to offer, like there was a lot more things for like growth that, I didn't want to lose. Like I
like all the training experience, the fact that there's clients there and you're suddenly going to be just like back to back.
And there was like teaching roles and things like that I would have loved to do. Like I'd love to do some teaching or something. Like if I wasn't a nurse, I think I would have been a teacher. Totally. So like I'd love to bring my nursing into like a teaching side of things. But that didn't work out. So my potential employer actually had a conversation with me and said like, look, I think you just need to open your business. And I was like, okay,
refreshingly honest. Though.
Yeah.
I
was disheartened at first, like as you would be. Yeah. But I think it was the push that I needed.
Yeah.
So then I just went and did some more like one-on-one training to get, a portfolio and, treated my friends and family under like a trainer. And then that's where you came into it. I was like, okay, what now? I was like, now I'm like ready to go. I've got this experience. I've got, some before and afters ready. Yeah. You look on Google and you're like, like for scripting services. And I don't know if it's because I was in Melbourne, but I just couldn't find any.
And I feel like no matter, like I've mentored people, nurses all over Australia, and everyone says the same thing. Like they Google and they just cannot find the answers that they need.
And like now I can reel off so many like companies, but unless you're in it, 100%,
totally.
100%.
Yeah, and I still, I learn things as I go from people who are doing different training courses and telling me about different, training facilities that I can then add in to then tell the next person. But there's not sort of anything that's really put together unless you go and see someone for mentoring who's sort of done the groundwork.
Exactly. Like the amount of DMs I get on Instagram from like girls hey, how did you get to where you are? I'm like, well, where do I start? But I sort of direct them into, the big like Fresh Clinics, Juve. Yeah. Well, mainly Juve because I'm with Juve. I love them and they're a really good support. So I always direct them there. Because they do the training now too.
And it is great for people getting started to have that 100%. Kind of support.
Well, because I did training like externally to all these like scripting services. So then when I was, approaching them like, hey, I want to sign up, they're like, oh, like we don't recognize this training or you've got to do our training. So definitely for like new injectors, like go straight into like who you want to script with, if that's what you want to
and
do.
work out exactly the type of training you need. Yeah,
but that can be daunting too. Like you think about like the first steps is like, okay, I'll do a course. But then like that course you do isn't enough. Like
and you might need to do another one. And I think people are a bit surprised, but definitely as you've probably learned over the last year or so is like the more you can do, the better, because we're always learning.
Exactly.
You know? Even if you're like years and years into this, you're still going to training courses and
I'm
events.
Still learning. Like I'm like every month, like the girls know me at the reception, like every month I'm like, okay, what dates do you have available? Book me in for one a month. They're like, hang on, we can't book you for like one every month. We need to give like other people an opportunity. I was like, oh, okay. You just call me when like no one books. Like I'll be there.
And there's so many new things on the market like to keep up with. I don't know about you, but like I'll sometimes have like patients messaging me like, oh, you're going to have this product, like, because they've seen it on TikTok or whatever. And I'm quickly like Googling, I'm like, what's this like? Because it's only like just, you know, become approved in Australia or something. And I'm like, you're doing a quick like crash course, right? Okay, am I going to implement this or not into my clinic? So
it's crazy how much like information is on TikTok. Like, and some of it's actually good information too. Because like there's people like us on there that are actually like educating. So it's really good that, you know, our patients are, you know, well informed before they come to us. But
I think it's really
quite
important.
daunting if you don't know that one thing that they mentioned. You're like, oh, hang on. You're like,
let me just Google that.
Yeah.
So we've touched on a little bit, but what pathway did you take in terms of training and mentoring to become a cosmetic injector? I think we have covered most of that, but maybe a little bit more around the training that you did do. Yeah,
so I did I can't remember how long it was. I think we did like a theory side of it where you learn like the anatomy and stuff. And I actually did like a skin like it was like a couple of days in there. So like I've been trained on like needling and stuff, but that's not something I offer at the moment. But I did, you know, theory on skin, and then we did a couple of days of injecting. Which was good, but I definitely wanted more experience with injecting. Like, you know, two people inject like one lip. I'm like, hang on a minute, like I need to know how to inject the top and the bottom lip for one patient. Exactly. So that's why after my course, I went and, you know, paid to do some more. I think it was called like mentoring, where you where I bring my own patients and then we inject them. But
and you get to sort of do whatever is like clinically appropriate. But we've all been in that scenario. Like even I, you know, kind of recently have been in a training session where the product was scarce. It was something that was really popular that had just been launched, and it was literally like one vial of product, one face between like 6 nurses in the room. So it's like 2 inject points. It's like, how is that, you know?
Exactly. Like
so then you've got to go away and do your own.
Stuff.
And so then I had to then bring in a model to be like, okay, am I feeling comfortable with doing this on my patient? So the more you can get, and we'll touch on this later in some of the points you put in, that make sure that these training courses are giving you maximal inject time on 100%. Multiple models instead of like that, like one model between 2 nurses. It's
100%,
just not enough for you to then go and like, maybe if you're going into a clinic and it's going to be this really supported pathway, but if you're opening your own business, you're not going to feel confident after
And I didn't feel confident.
Exactly.
That's why I did the mentoring, because I didn't initially sign up for mentoring. Like I just did, you know, the course, and then I realized that, hang on a minute, I think I need a bit more experience. Even though like I actually felt quite confident like injecting, you know, like out of the class, I felt like I was pretty good. Like I had an understanding of it, like it was easy to me. But I'm like, if I'm opening my own business or, you know, treating the public, like I want more experience.
Totally. And when you've got patients sitting in front of you and you've quickly got to make these decisions while they're on the bed sort of looking at you, you know, like, what are you going to do with me? And you've got to really...
And everyone's different. Everyone's face is different. Like
everyone is so different.
Crazy. Like I'm getting a lot of different like ethnicities through as well. And like everyone's skin's different. Everyone has different... like different looks and things that they want to go for. And everyone sort of responds
differently, or they 100%. Might have a history of things like, oh, this product didn't work as well for me and I prefer this, or I've had these complications before and things. And like, you'll know, sometimes you kind of sit there and you're like, I just like need a minute. Like just like,
literally.
What am I going to do with you?
My approach is like, okay, we're going to start with this product. We're going to like
try
maybe
this.
Top you up, go up on the dose next time. If that doesn't work, then we'll switch you. But some of the times where I'm treating a client with, you know, like my bread and butter product, and I'm like, no, this will work, and it doesn't. And you're like, why?
And it
why
throws you
didn't
and you're
that
like, hang
work?
on.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, we'll try this. And then that works nicely. But
and as long as you're open and, you've got that ability to be open and honest with your patients, you're not going to get the people that are like, this hasn't worked and why hasn't it worked?
I sort of be like, it's a process.
Yeah.
Like this product generally works, but everyone's different. Everyone's got different bodies, different metabolism, and it's a product, it's a medication at the end of the day. Like some people respond really well, some people don't. And we'll get you to that point where you have, smooth, beautiful appearance, but it just might be a process.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, you need to kind of gain that experience and that confidence to be able to have those conversations 100%. With people as well.
At the start, like I definitely didn't have that.
Like,
at the start.
Frown.
Yeah, I'm like, yep. These are the injection points I learned. And then like when I learned like, the tail of like the corrugator, you draw a line up and then you don't inject like laterally. But then I was having all these spots. So I was like, surely that's not right.
Yeah.
Like I remember.
And then you sort of go back to the drawing board and you're like, this isn't actually working.
100%. Yeah. I remember saying that to the trainer. I was like, what do you mean? Like, that's just what it is. Like they didn't teach us to inject outside of there. I'm like, but look at the eyebrow. Like it's spocked.
Yeah. And I think a big sort of, I won't say issue, but maybe where, new nurses will run into sort of troubles with that is obviously training has to be very much like on label. So it has to be only the things that are approved, because people might not realize that there's off-label areas 100%. Or just different ways of doing things that they won't actually teach you in the official training sessions, and you have to gain that experience like in other ways. Exactly.
How many people want a lip flip? Like, young girl, that's what they want. They come in, they want to enhance their lips, but they don't want to commit to lip filler, so they want a lip flip.
Yeah. And you're like,
you're like, hang on, I haven't learned that.
Yeah. But, and so that's got to come by getting all those other sort of opportunities as well.
And that's what I did in my like one-on-one training. I was like, teach me lip flip.
Yeah, I need the off-label.
I need to know.
Especially in your area. I remember we've talked about this multiple times. Like your area, it's like lip filler and lip flips.
100%.
Yeah, that younger demographic. Yeah, totally.
I think that's because I do a lot on Instagram. So like, your younger patient is on Instagram.
Yeah, and they're obviously going to be attracted to coming to see you.
Yes.
Young and gorgeous. So tell us currently, how many clinic days and hospital days are you doing per week?
So I'm at the hospital 0.4. So that's 2 days a week.
Yeah.
And I'm injecting 3 days a week. So I work across 2 locations. So I work 1 weekday at each. So Thursday I'm at Warragul, Friday I'm at Berwick, and then I alternate the Saturdays. So I work every Saturday just depending on
alternating.
Alternating the clinic.
That's great.
So full time.
I
actually was doing 0.6 at the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
So I was doing 6 days a week. But with shift work too. So, like Sundays I would love to be like my dedicated, time with my fiance Dylan and, my family. But then, you get your hospital shift and it throws out your whole week, and I don't see Dylan for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
And he works long hours too. Like he does 14-hour days.
That's huge.
He's a business owner too. So it's so hard. And then you want to throw a kid into it. It's like, hang on a minute.
I know when I was reading your notes, I'm like, she wants to be a mum too.
Yeah, is she crazy?
No, you've got this.
Yeah.
So for you, what were the challenges of opening a new business?
Lots. I think my biggest one was my confidence. So, I suppose that can be broken up into 2 things. So like my clinical skills, like my confidence behind that, and then my confidence just general. So with my clinical skills, I think, you see things on Instagram, before I was an injector, you'd see these beautiful, lips that, the before photo was like these tricky M-shaped lips, these thin lips. And then you'd see these beautiful, plump lips with, crisp Cupid's bow.
Yeah.
And I sort of had the expectation that my course would give me that, or like my skills would be able to achieve that.
Yeah.
And it was quite daunting to realize that, hang on, no, it's not.
It's not.
Like there's got to be a lot of work to be put into this, and, trialing different products and what works for me. And like, I don't know if you remember, like when I did like my first couple of lips, I remember messaging you like, Felicity.
Remember your very first set of lips.
Oh my gosh. I was
and you
so
made me laugh when you put it
upset.
in the notes.
I know. I was so upset. Thank you for calling me. Like I really needed that. Like I could call like Dylan, like
and he's like and
he's like, babe, like it'll be okay, like it's just lips. And I'm like, no, like this is my life. But no, you really helped me that day. So thank you. I really appreciate that.
That's an absolute pleasure. And I really hope that, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, no, definitely. You definitely did support me.
Help you build your business, but then I'm here for the moments of meltdown as well.
Literally. So after that day, after our conversation, I actually booked in a training day with Juve for lips because I was like, no, okay, I think I need to, get some more confidence in this, which I think my skills were actually okay.
Yeah.
But it's just that confidence to back it. So,
totally. And I think, that first set of lips you did, compared to because the training
they
these
weren't
days,
actually bad.
compared to say the first set of lips that I did, where there was it was like the training was like pretty much nothing. It was like, watch one, do one, I was saying to you, I'm like, these lips are actually great.
I know.
But I think it was that you, like you said, you had
My
this expectation of Instagram and then you probably stood back and you're like, oh, but like the patient was happy. And I was like, this is what I would expect for, the first time this patient
it's because I had that expectation of, those Instagram lips.
Which could have, 4 or 5 mils in them
100%,
and, an injector that's been injecting for 20 years or something.
Back then you probably didn't have to do all those disclaimers. And, you have that many before and afters from like the UK and the USA that, don't have to put those disclaimers or well, I'm not too sure, but, there's not often disclaimers on there. So you're quite naive to that.
Yeah.
And then I suppose my general confidence, just, moving into a new industry, like that's scary. And being a business owner, like you're pretty much by yourself.
Yeah.
So Dill actually helped me a lot. It's my fiance. He's a clinical psychologist and a business owner himself.
Amazing.
So he helped me a lot. Just like, babe, you got this. Like, like fake it till you make it. Which was, very helpful. But, your support really helped
thank you.
as well. Being in the industry, like you knew what to say and, things to help guide me.
Yeah.
And Instagram, that's fun. That's so
you have
fun.
Done amazing
Instagram, like I remember my first like video or story I put up. I just watch it back. I'm like, oh, Talisha, shut up. Like, you sound so silly. But I'm like, just like keep going. Like,
and I remember like encouraging you, like you need to put your face out there. You need to start talking on camera. And you're like, no. And you're like, I hate how I sound. I hate how I look. And look at you now. Every
100%.
day I'm like, yep, there she goes again. You're like, hi everyone.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. You put yourself out there, and you have to these days.
100%. I've realized that like I'm my brand, like there's so many cosmetic injectors and like what makes me different is me.
Yeah.
And like your clients want to see you.
Exactly.
And I
they
feel
come
like,
for you.
Yeah.
Injecting's just like 1% of it. The
100%.
rest they come is for you.
And I'm like that too. Like I'm getting married soon. So looking for vendors. Thank you. Again, adding something else to my plate, planning a wedding.
Totally. And then off air, she's like, I'm getting married in February. I was like, okay.
Yeah. So, planning a wedding, like looking for vendors and stuff, of course, I love Instagram, go straight to Instagram. And I'm looking at, florists and makeup artists and like I see all their beautiful work and I'm like, okay, that's all right. But like, who are you? Like I want to be able to, know who I'm putting my trust into and investing in. Like I want to see the person behind the business.
Yes.
And lots of like florists and stuff, they don't actually put their face out there, which
even
I definitely need it.
Makeup artists I've noticed too, like 100%. Beautiful work, but like who is the person doing?
And then you see all these beautiful photos of the makeup artists, but you're like, okay, is that you? No,
yeah.
Is that you?
And I think that's one of the things like we went over a lot in mentoring and I do with, anyone I mentor with is like you have to put yourself out there. And like when someone lands on your Instagram page, if you're trying to build a personal brand, like within that first 10 seconds, they need to know what is your name and what do you look like?
100%.
They need
like
to
you
be,
get like that 2 scrolls and if you're not there,
you're like I'm out of here.
Literally.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I think that also then the other side of that is, and we're going to touch on this a little bit later in the questions, but is also putting out, obviously people want to see what we're doing in the clinics and what we can provide, but also the engagement we get when we're posting a bit more personal stuff. So,
100%.
I think people are loving, and you were quite surprised how much people are loving you sharing the journey of your engagement and booking everything for your wedding.
Like the amount of like views and like likes and comments I get on like my, I recently had my engagement party, like those reels and stuff,
So
like the
good.
traction you get from that is crazy.
I know.
And it's like, Clients love it. Like they come in, they're like, oh my God, did you end up finding your dress? You know, you looked gorgeous, you know, did everything work out? Because I talk to my clients about, oh my gosh, I need to find, tablecloths for my cocktail tables. Like,
and see, that's what makes it so personal. You know, they want to know about your life and they love that you know about their lives. And I don't know about you, but I'll put like little personal things in the notes I write about them. So obviously inject
100%.
stuff. And then I put a little, you know, whether they're going on a holiday or they've got an upcoming birthday. And then the next time I ask them about it and they're like, oh, you know, like, and they just love that you can then, you know, touch on that again. I think they think I've got a really good memory. I don't, especially since having my daughter, but the notes help. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say on that too, which I always laugh about, I notice if my engagement's a little bit down, I say to my husband, we need to go on a trip. We need to do something. We need to get the baby out there, the dog, like you need to get on, you know. And it's interesting. I get this spike in engagement and I'm like, do people not care about my clinic? No, they do. But they just like, love to know. More. Yeah. Exactly. And then like you said, they'll come in, like we've had some back-to-back weddings throughout November and they'll come in and my daughter was a flower girl in one of them.
I was following that too. I was like, oh my gosh, she looks so cute.
Like, oh my God. And like they were all like so excited about it.
And then you post photos of like your daughter and then I'm like, hang on, what's Felicity wearing? Like,
and everyone's like, oh, and then everyone's commenting on my dresses. And then because I obviously have one for each wedding and they're telling me which one they preferred. And like,
yes. I even filmed like, even for like my awards night, I had 2 dresses. I was like, okay, which dress am I going to wear? But I forgot to post it. I was so busy. I know.
I was waiting for that kind of thing from you actually because that's what I expected.
We'll backdate it. Well, I did some day drinking before the awards night. So I had to get a nap in before I had to go out.
I did vote that you should have had a nap.
And I did have a nap.
Good. Yeah. So really important, I guess, to recap that is that if you're building a personal brand and I think to stand out in this very competitive current market is you've got to put yourself out there.
And just be yourself. Like I'm not the most, you know, professional person. Like I'm a bit, you know, laxed and chill. And, you know, I bring that out. Like I'm not this like perfect, you know, cosmetic injector that you think, you know.
And that's what I think people like because they go, she's real.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And then I show them like my fiance Dylan, like his psychologist covered in tats. They're like, oh my God, like,
I know.
I love it. I love like talking to my clients about like my, you know, fiance and stuff and then showing them a photo when they see a photo of like him like for our engagement party. They're like, oh my God, does he look like that?
Yeah.
Because like he's covered in tats and you wouldn't expect like a psychologist to look like that.
Totally. And people say, that reminds me, because my husband had like really long hair, like since the start.
Oh my God, when you, like the beard, when the beard was gone, I was like, hang on.
I got messages and I think one of them was for you. Was like we needed a warning that there was going to be a haircut.
Literally.
And I didn't realise how many people were invested in his haircut.
Like prepare us, please.
And then he's our hubby to me, too. Yeah, they're like, oh, he's just like, you know, they're like, oh, he's gone from this like out in the bush guy to like this like clean cut again. I'm like, no, well, this is what he usually looks like. He just, you know, kind of went for this sort of rugged look throughout.
Lockdown look.
So I'm not going to cut my hair. But yeah, even like that, like, apparently I needed to prepare Instagram for the haircut.
No, I loved it. I like the clean look.
Yeah, I like it too. It's much better. Hope you're enjoying this podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by the Fit Injector Clinic mentoring program, business mentoring for cosmetic nurse injectors. If you are a registered nurse who wants to become a cosmetic injector or an existing cosmetic injector who wants to start their own business or scale up your existing business, I have just launched an online version of my mentoring program with video modules for you to work through in your own time, downloadable information for you to keep, and a strategy call once you've completed that with me for 30 minutes to answer any questions that you have about starting or scaling up your business. If you want to get started, email me at admin@thefitinjector.com.au. So we're going to jump in now to some basically some stats where I gave you the information through mentoring and then how you implemented that and the results it produced, because I think it's extremely powerful because you have followed everything to the T that I told you, and actually you've gone above and beyond.
That's a Virgo in me. Give me a list and I'll do it.
Let's go. And the results have just, you know, approved, like you can see, proof's in the pudding. And I love, you are. Like I'd say, do this, and you come back to me and you're like, this is this, plus this is done. Yeah, 3 times over. Yeah. You're like, what's next? So at the time when you did mentoring with me, you had 0 Instagram followers. You were just starting your account, just starting your business. And when I wrote these podcast notes about 2 weeks ago, you had 2,320 followers. Incredible.
Yep. You see, to me, I'm like, I need 5, I need 10. Like I'm always like pushing, but starting from 0.
Yeah, and this is one thing that I've said to you like along the way. If you had over 2,000 people call you for an appointment today, or you had 2,000 people in your clinic, that's a conference.
100%.
You know,
100%.
like, and that many people are, you know, interested in. Yeah, okay, having 10,000 followers would be great, but are they local people to you?
Well,
you know,
all
engaging
my views
with
and
you
stuff is really good. Like at least a quarter of my followers like see my stories and like message me. Like
they're engaged.
And they're actual people and they're actual local people. Like every time I get someone follow me, you know, I click on their profile, have a look, and I'm like, oh, this is like, you know, a normal person. It's not a bot. Like, and they live in the area, so it's like a potential client.
Exactly,
like,
and give them multiple exposures, and then that's the next person to book with you. So that is impressive.
It's actually funny. I had a client recently on the weekend, and I felt like I know her. I was like, when she booked, I was like, oh, okay. Like, when did I treat her last? And I looked, and I was like, hang on, I haven't treated her, but we'd talking over Instagram. And I was like, oh, I feel like I know her already, but I actually haven't treated her.
I love when that happens. Or like you start your consult and you're banging on about something and they're like, oh, no, I know. I've been following you for like a year. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll just shut up then.
Yeah. Makes your job easier.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It has actually cut down my consult time, having so much information out there. It's like people come in so educated, and like you'll start talking about, you know, maybe they're in for anti-wrinkle, but you're then recommending like PRP or something. Like, oh yeah, I've watched all the videos. I know that I want that. And you're like, cool. Yes. Yeah, it's really powerful. So back to you. I scrolled all the way back to your very first Instagram post because I wanted some little stats on this. So your first post was the 20th of March 22. And since then, I know you've done a few more, but when I wrote this 2 weeks ago, you've probably done another 14 posts. But 2 weeks ago, you had done 356 posts.
That's a lot.
That's incredible.
That's a lot. When I first started, I made like a commitment to post every day.
Yeah.
Like one every day. And then I realized the importance of stories and I started posting a story. But like at the start, like I was so committed. Like sometimes it would get to like 5 o'clock at night and me and Dill would go out for dinner and I'd be like, oh my God, I don't have a post. I'm like, sorry, babe.
Stop talking. I've got to.
I need to do this. And he's just like eating by himself. I'm like, sorry, like I'm nearly done. Like, what do you think about this? Can you please like proof check my words? Like, is this informative for someone that doesn't know anything?
Is this a good before and after?
Yeah, like, literally. No, I still do that to this day.
I do too.
With my before and after. Hey, Dill.
Because that self-doubt's always still there, isn't it? And it's good to show it to someone who's not an injector and 100%. Be like, can you actually see the difference here?
100%.
Or, yeah.
But consistency helps, you know.
It has. It's paid off. That's 100%. Amazing.
And it's crazy that it was last year. I feel like I've been doing this for years, but like I started last year.
I know. And when I was writing this, I was like, I feel like, we met like years and years ago. It feels like.
Like you're an old friend. Like,
I know.
Yeah.
And the fact that we actually hadn't met in person until today.
I said that to you. I was like, I can't wait to meet you. You're like, oh, we haven't met.
Because I feel like I've met you. And it's kind of like when you arrived, I'm like, I don't need to introduce myself.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So you are obviously, as we have discussed, very active with both your posts and stories on Instagram daily. You have also absolutely nailed your SEO on all your social platforms. And I was doing a bit of I was doing incognito Google searches on you for both locations. So you have, so you've got 2 Google listings, obviously, for both locations. Now you have 35-star Google reviews and a first page top 3 listing on Google for Warragul, and 57 5-star reviews and a top 5 listing on page 1 in Berwick.
Yeah.
Berwick.
Berwick.
I want to say Berwick.
Yeah. Berwick. No, it's right.
That's the Aussie coming out of me.
Yeah.
Which is just incredible. That's amazing.
Yeah. When I was actually reading like the notes, I didn't realize how high I ranked. Like, because you know, when you own like the business and you Google it, like you automatically come up high. So, and you know, I do it on like Dylan's phone or like my friend's phone, but because like they're around me all the time, I feel like I naturally come up higher for them. So I was super proud when I was like looking at that. I was like, oh my God, really? Like all my hard work's, you know, paying off. And I definitely noticed that, like, when we first started the mentoring, I pushed Google reviews and then, you know, you get caught up in everything else. So I didn't really push it. And then, you know, recently in the past, only like a couple of months, I've been like pushing it again because I'm like, no, like I'm nailing my Instagram referrals. I need to branch out. So that was my next, you know, target audience of like clients was like through Google. And the reviews make such a difference. Like, I ask every client, you know, what brings you, how'd you find me? Yeah. And, you know, lots of them is Instagram or like a friend referred them or something. Yeah. But I actually am getting like through, I just like Googled. And I was like, oh my God, what did you Google? Like, oh my God, like, did you like everything you saw? Like, thank you so much for booking me. Like,
that's so
it's like
good.
a mini dance. Like,
because
when
it feels like it just feels so, I guess, so close to home when they've found you on Google and they've read your reviews.
I know. And there's so many clinics out there. Like, I've got so many beautiful injectors around me. Like, it's so privileged that they've picked me. Like, I'm like, oh, thank you so much.
Well done.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I pulled those stats for you because you didn't.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. No. So thank you for doing that.
Pleasure.
It's good to, that's one of my advice is like that you gave me is, just like stop and like celebrate
the small wins.
100%.
Yeah, totally.
Because I definitely don't do that. Like I'm always like next.
I know.
Please give me another list.
And I feel like whenever you like do reach out to me, I'm like, okay, so stop.
Yeah.
We're just going to take a really big deep breath and celebrate all those incredible things you just told me.
Yes.
Which brings me to the next point. So you came to me about mid-year this year. Saying that you were growing your business, but you just felt a bit stuck on how to take things to the next level. You told me your client stats, the number of appointments, the average spend, the revenue generated in your first year, and my jaw literally hit the floor because can we just go back for a minute that this is in a part-time capacity. This has literally been like your side hustle, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Like I forget how many times, but so many more times bigger than what I did in my first year of business. I was literally giving away injectables in my first year.
Really?
Pretty
See,
much.
like
because I was just trying to be,
like,
cheap and
I suppose that's a good thing about like you being my mentor is you can tell me like
exactly the mistakes I've made.
Share. Like people don't share, like average spend and things like that. Like it's good to have someone
exactly. And I'm like an open book when it comes to mentoring about that because you need to know because 100%. It's so hard. Otherwise, like, and that's why I got a mentor a couple of years ago because I'm like you said, we're on our own, and I'm like, I feel like I'm doing well, but like, how do I know? Where do I sit with other clinics my size? 100%. So if I can help you with that and go, hang on, just stop. Like this is absolutely incredible what you've achieved, and it's only up from here.
Yeah, so I really appreciate that because I definitely skim over that because I'm always like looking at what can I do to grow and what next, because
which is a great thing.
But you definitely need to stop and just appreciate the hard work that you've done because you want to enjoy the process. Like it's got to be fun too, which it was fun. Yeah, but I'm always grinding. Yeah.
You always will be.
100%.
And I've got one more question for you before we move on to our follow-up questions. So what advice would you give to others wanting to become an injector and start their own business? So obviously we have touched a little bit on this, but take it away.
Probably advice from me would be just don't be too hard on yourself. Like it's like you're a grad nurse all over again, like starting a new industry. Like in your undergrad, you don't learn anything about cosmetics. And even the course, like you don't really learn until you're actually doing it. Like you're starting injecting. So just don't be too hard on yourself and enjoy the process. Like small wins, first lips, first anti-wrinkle, just like celebrate the small wins and just enjoy the process. Like you'll get there.
Absolutely.
Just as long as you work hard and expect to grind. Expect to work hard because you need to work hard to make it in the industry.
Absolutely.
Even saying that, I still feel like I haven't made it. Like
nor have I. I'm sitting here in like my dream
your
clinic
own
and I'm
clinic.
Like, I'm not there yet.
I know your clinic
I've got a long way to go.
Beautiful. Walking in, I was like, oh my God, I'm just like in a different world.
Thanks. Yeah. But I felt like, in my little one room capacity that I had in Edgecliff for 3 years prior to this, I'd maxed out my capacity there and I needed to go and I needed staff and I need more treatment rooms. But it's almost like when I opened this, like it's obviously a calculated risk, but suddenly I'm like, almost felt like I was kind of starting again because, I'd maxed out that, but now like this is obviously, maybe the next thing for me needed to be a 2-room clinic, but I would have grown out of that in another year. So it's like this is our space to grow into, but it was that moment of like, oh, I've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, for sure. But you're doing well. Like you're filling the rooms.
Yeah, we are, like and we've got a really good team going on here, and it's getting really busy, which is great. But definitely just takes longer than I think what you initially think.
Yeah. I definitely,
So patience.
I can't wait until I have like a receptionist like Lucy.
Yeah. Oh,
sounds amazing.
she is
and it was
just
so lovely
incredible.
to meet her today. But yeah, just replying to all like your messages yourself and taking all the intake calls, like it takes a toll.
Yeah.
So
and you can probably hear like she is literally out
on the
there.
phone. Yeah.
Like we've mixed up the podcast. We're in a treatment room today, so our clinic can remain functional while we podcast. And like you can hear her, she's liaising appointments, she's moving things around, she's booking people in. It's like otherwise, you know, I've got patients after this. Otherwise, I don't get to do that till 6 o'clock tonight. No one wants a call from me at 6 o'clock tonight.
100%.
You know?
I already know that I've got messages in like my
people wanting to
DMs
book
like,
in
hey, I'm a new customer. I'm like, hey, I'm filming a podcast right now. I'll get back to you shortly.
Exactly. But it's taken so much of the workload off me, and it's actually opened up my day a lot more. I'm able to fit more patients in and then do things, you know, like podcasts and things like that because I know she's out there and she's got it. She's got it sorted.
Yeah, 100%.
And then another thing we had in the notes around this was having that foundation as a hospital nurse. And I think this is a really good point because to date there hasn't been any, you know, sort of criteria as a cosmetic nurse to have a background in hospital. So you can do your bachelor and then just become a cosmetic nurse. But there are some proposed regulation changes that came out last week.
Really?
They're open for submission at the moment, but AHPRA has been, you know, obviously really cracking down on the cosmetic industry. A lot of it is, you know, welcome change. So the clinics that are doing the right thing, you know, will sit above the rest. But one of them is a new proposed regulation change where you do have to have a minimum of 1 year hospital experience to become a cosmetic injector.
100%. I fully support that.
Yeah,
like,
so do I.
Being, you know, well, first of all, being a nurse, like, you need to learn how to be a nurse first.
Yeah.
Like, I know you think that cosmetics, you know, it's just like beauty, but it's actually not. Like, you're injecting into someone's face, you know, going through like the layers of tissue. Like, it's really important to, you know, have just a basic understanding of like nursing. So like,
and things can go wrong.
100%. So like with my emergency background, I feel like it gave me a great foundation to be a cosmetic nurse because there's some things that like overlay. So like, you know, a risk with having treatment is like anaphylaxis, allergic reaction. Like I now know, like, you know, we've got EpiPens and stuff, you know, I'm so comfortable treating that. And, you know, I work in ED, so I know all the paramedics and stuff. So like, I know the process, like, you know, you don't get scared. Like, and being in the clinic, you're by yourself,
you're on
like
your own.
If you own your business. So like you really need to know the processes and, you know, feel comfortable and confident to not panic in those situations.
Yeah, totally. And like fainting episodes 100%. Or even like medication interactions and things like that.
And just even like when your patients come in, they're like, oh, I'm on this medication. And you're like, oh yeah, that's this. And they're like, oh, it is. And it's like you get a bit of respect for them too. And it makes your job easier because there are some medications that, you know, you can't be on and you need to reduce and things before treatment. So it's good to have an understanding of how they work and, you know, what common medications are and just like basic communication skills. And, you know, you definitely learn that in the hospital.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think I'm fully in support of that change. And I think it will just make it a lot clearer for people. And especially as business owners where, you know, I've sort of, you know, gone back and forth on, you know, do I bring in a completely new nurse? And I have done that in the past. Have I noticed that kind of lack of skills there? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then thinking about the next person that I want to bring on next year, in my head, even before this proposal came out, I'm thinking I want them to have, you know, at least a year or a couple of years hospital experience because that's going to make things a lot, you know, smoother in the clinic. And now if there's this actual kind of clear cut, it's like I don't have to kind of like apologize for that or that I'm sort of being too hard or, you know, a bit unfair not bringing on a new person. It's like, no, well, this is actually the regulation now. So, so I think it's very important.
Yeah, I actually haven't read that document. So, that's really good that they're bringing that in because that's something that I definitely recommend to, you know, the nurses that DM me. Like that's something that I actually get people that haven't even studied nursing. They're like, this is like, I'm in year 12.
Like,
what do I need to do to like get into cosmetics? I'm like, hang on a minute. You're like not even 18 yet.
Like just finished school.
Literally.
And, you know, and the thing is, you know, yes, this industry is very glamorized, but I think it's not for everyone. And I've definitely learned that from, nurses that I have employed in the past is like they've got into it thinking it's something it's not, and then realized like, oh, this actually isn't for me. And yeah, it is hard work, and there's a lot to it, and there's a lot to learn. And like I said before, things can go wrong, and they sort of have this like, oh, maybe this isn't for me, and maybe I actually 100%. Do need to go to the hospitals and get those skills first. So.
And just like the day, like the day, like we don't have time to sit around and drink coffee. Like I don't even have time to call my mum. It's not just all like sipping lattes and taking selfies, guys. Like, it's like so busy. You have your 30-minute, 1 hour appointments. Then you've got I do like 15-minute reviews, and like you just like back to back to back.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Some days like I forget to block out a lunch.
Yeah,
and then it gets booked, and I'm like, oh, I need to eat. So like I'm just like hang on to my client. Like I'll be 5 minutes, and I'm just like quickly eating.
Last week we actually had you say celebrate the small wins. We actually had our biggest week since opening this new clinic.
Congratulations.
So in terms of like the patients through the doors and everything, the appointments that are in, but it was like back to back to back these huge days, and I was like thriving off the energy. But I remember by like Friday, about halfway through, I was like, Lucy, I'm fading.
Yeah.
Like, and she's like cracking like the snake lollies and like feeding me, and I'm like, okay, yep, we've got this. Like living on coffee, but it's a lot, and I think that's something that people don't realize is it's like. It is very, obviously it's not that physically draining, but it's very mentally draining. When you're with each client, there's this huge emotional aspect to people coming and having 100%. These treatments. Yeah.
That's like with Dill too, because he's a psychologist. Like it's great. It works well. Like
your debriefs at night must be great.
Oh no, we both get home and we're just like, don't talk. Like YouTube, great. It's like we just relax. Like
that's good. You just like switch off.
100%.
Whereas my husband, because he's at home editing all day, talking to no one.
He's like, hey, Felicity,
friend, and I'm like, I do not have the capacity to talk to you, but I feel really bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And the other thing we had in this on advice to give to people wanting to become an injector and start their own business was that be prepared for hard work. It is literally 24/7. And I love what you put in our notes here. You are the receptionist, like especially if you're on your own, you don't have staff, which most people don't to start with. You're the receptionist, the cleaner, the marketing and social media manager. You're the videographer, unless you've got my husband.
Injector.
Oh, and the injector. Yeah, wait. Oh,
like last.
That's right. You've got to inject too.
Yeah.
You are literally everything.
That's why I always take photos like when I leave Berwick, we've got this big mirror of like me holding my lunchbox, my cardboard, my
crazy bag lady.
My bags. Like this
you got the rubbish.
Like, this is the reality. Like I'm taking out the rubbish. I'm cleaning the floors.
And then you'll be like, and I haven't eaten today.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Actually,
it's crazy. You need a drink too. Drink break. And the other note we put there was, basically just, I guess deciding whether going straight into a business is for you. If you do, make sure you get the training and mentoring behind you. And then obviously, I worked for many clinics before I started my own business. And I think for me, I really am glad that I did that because I became an injector before it was even cool. Like I've been a nurse.
I was old school cool.
We actually weren't even called injectors. That's like,
oh, really?
Yeah. Like I'm showing my age here. So, cause I've been a nurse for 12 years, which means I'm coming up to like 10 years 9 or 10 years in the cosmetic industry.
I didn't realize it was a thing back then.
It wasn't. How old was I?
Was like high school.
Yeah. In nappies. No. Yeah. I literally just like rocked up at this clinic and they're like, we need nurses. Like you weren't called cosmetic injectors. There wasn't much injecting happening back then.
And I heard that you didn't know about occlusions back then either.
No, you weren't trained. No. No, the way you were trained to like inject cheeks, I'm like, how were people not going blind? Like, wild. We didn't, none of that. So I think because back then, like there weren't the training courses, there wasn't people to mentor you, anything like that. I'm actually so glad. And what I got that a lot of injectors don't get these days, especially if you go straight into like a chain clinic, is the skin background. So what I was doing back then was mostly skin. So lasers. We had this multitude of lasers, this huge clinic. And So learn all about the skin side of things, products, skin consults and all of that, which I'm able to obviously apply to my business today. And then I have worked for chain clinics as well. And I loved that in terms of my skills. Like when I went to a chain clinic, I thought I knew about injecting, but I was like, whoa, hang on.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was really able to utilize their training programs and doing that like back-to-back injecting.
100%. Without the stress of bringing the clients in too. That's
exactly.
a good thing.
Like the clients were there by default because it's a chain clinic.
And then when you're finished, you're finished.
Exactly.
Like that's
and so that for my injecting skills was probably one of the best things I could have done at the time. And then that obviously led me into my own business. So
yeah, for sure. That's definitely the things I like about working for someone. You know, you don't have to get your clientele in. You literally just have to come to work. You know that you're going to have clients. You get allocated lunch break. You get to finish and you get to go home and like live your life. Like you don't have to worry about, you know, posting and Instagram and stuff like that, because you know, it's great that I'm getting like booked out now, but now I don't have as much time to do the other things. And especially working with the hospital, it's so hard to find that balance between, you know, the two jobs. You know, getting married, you know, I'm trying to work out, you know, do good skincare, worry about my hair, like, and hang out with my family and Dylan, like.
I love Dylan's like the last on the list there. Sorry, Dylan. No, totally. And I think what I'd like to say on that is like since opening this clinic, it has just been a whirlwind. And I think, like just to, you know, build up our patient base to where it needs to be, like growing into this clinic, it's just been needle in hand for me since we opened in February. But just now, especially it's funny, heading into the busier period, Lucy and I sat down and we're like, if I don't give myself one day a week where I'm on my laptop doing the admin side of the business, it's not going to happen through December. And it will mean that there's, you know, we run out of toxin filler because I haven't ordered it,
done
or
a big order and
you know, emails unattended to and things like that. So, and obviously Lucy does all the day-to-day client stuff, but there's obviously still all that back end and, you know, content planning, podcast planning.
Diversify yourself so well. Like you've got your YouTube, your podcast, you've got your skincare line, like you've got your clinic. Like what else do you do? Oh, your mum. Like,
I've got a child.
You've got a kid.
Husband, bottom of the list. Yeah, totally. So I think the biggest advice I can give you is like as your clinic continues to grow, just make sure you give yourself that dedicated time. And so now at the moment, it's like Lucy and I have picked like one day a week where it's like I don't see patients. My daughter's in daycare, my husband's at home working, and I actually come and work in our office, and it's like headphones on and I just work on. And it's so nice because then I don't feel like I'm trying to do it, you know, at night when my daughter's asleep and I should be hanging out with my husband, or I'm trying to do it like between patients or whatever. I can just go, you know what, I just park that and that gets done on that day.
Yeah. The amount of times that I'm in bed with my iPad just pumping out.
And then
like
I don't sleep that well if I do that because I'm like
100%.
all wound up
and Dill says that to me like, babe, you need to like slow down. Like chill. I think my number one thing on my YouTube is like this guided sleep meditation. Every night I've got it.
So you've got that on, but you're on your booking system.
And then like it's like guiding you through, you know, relax your forehead. I'm like, hang on, I've got to message back that one client, or I've got to move her. I forgot to reply to that one, or you know,
I didn't order tops.
And then I've got to start the video again to like start from square one to like meditate.
Focus on it.
Literally.
Yeah. Now let's dive into the questions we got from Instagram. So question 1 is, where do you see yourself in 1 and 5 years' time?
Oh gosh, that's very daunting. I don't even know what I'm doing next week.
I don't know what I'm doing this afternoon.
Yeah, literally. What time's my flight today? I suppose in like the near future, I just want to work on what I'm already doing, you know, good social media, increasing Google reviews, trying to get more clients through, you know, like my website and stuff like that. I'm actually doing Bonnie's doing my website, which I'm so excited.
Shout out to Bonnie.
Go Bonnie. What is she? Be on Media.
Be on Media.
Yep. So I'm super excited for that. And I suppose long term, you know, I want to be a mum. I'd love to have my own clinic. I'd love to like buy a space and fit it out. That's like end goal. But I don't know how long that will take me, but I think I'd need to do like a proper business plan to, you know, or maybe you can help me with that.
Sure.
Do some steps.
No, I've done this. I can tell you everything not to do.
Yeah, literally. Because I'd love that. And whether or not, you know, I do a business model where I rent out rooms to like different like business owners, or whether I get employees. Because I know it's super hard finding, you know, good employees. and loyal. You've got a beautiful team here, so you can probably teach me on, things to look out for. But yeah, being an owner like that and like a boss, like being a boss, like that's scary. Like I'm just like a little girl. Like I'm 21.
Are you 21?
No, I'm not.
Oh,
I'm 27.
I was like, what?
I feel 21. Like those like memes. It's like, how was someone born in 2000?
Yeah.
23, but I'm 23 and I'm 96. That's literally how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good plan. So mum and a bigger clinic.
Bigger clinic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it. I'm like already planning out our chat for that.
Yeah, cool. Give me a list.
Yeah.
We love lists.
Question 2. Why did you choose injectables as a career path?
Good question. I think, the glamorous lifestyle like intrigued me. But I think just getting out of like the hospital setting, like I love, emergency work. Like I'm good at it. Like I love it. But when I want to be a mum, I want to be more present. Which, that's funny because I'm not going to have time to be a present mum. But I didn't want shift work anymore. Like I don't like night shift. I've actually got it on Saturday, which I'm dreading. But yeah, just like the shift work, it's just so draining. Yeah. Like, and I love beauty. Like I love, makeup, lashes, hair. Like I love that. So like combining, my passion for nursing with, the glamorous cosmetics, and making people feel good about themselves. Like I really love that when I hand them the mirror and I'm able to achieve, what they want. And especially if it's something that, like an asymmetrical lip that they've looked at for years and they didn't realize that they can do anything for it. Totally. And I'm like, hey, let's just do a bit of filler here,
and they're like
100%. And they're like, oh my god, like
it's like life changing.
And then they're like, all right, what else can we do now?
What's next?
Literally.
Yeah, so good. Question 3, what's your favorite area to treat?
Oh, good one again. I think the easy answer would be like lips. You know, we love a good before and after lips, but I think the honest answer is cheek filler. I love cheek filler. When you give the patient that mirror after cheek filler, it's incredible. Like it just frames the eyes. Like they just look so fresh and rejuvenated. And I think because people don't expect cheek filler to be good or like to notice a difference, and it actually does make a big difference. So yeah, cheek filler is beautiful. I remember like for me, like I went to my injector, with all my products. I'm like, do what you think. And she's like, oh, I think we need a bit in your cheeks. And I was like, okay, like I think I got big cheeks, but like, And she goes, no, I think just like in the mid cheek. I'm like, okay, do what you want. And then she handed me the mirror and I nearly cried. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, is this what is
that
this
little
what
bit
it
of
is?
volume replacement
100%.
that you didn't realize? I've been looking at your cheeks the whole time. Yeah. Tiny. She only did a tiny amount.
She only did like 0.2 on like one side that had a flat spot. Like she didn't do any like in my lateral cheeks because I've got like big cheeks. Yeah. But just like that one bit.
Made such a difference.
100%. Yeah. I was like, okay, I want more now.
Okay, what else?
No, I know I got big cheeks. I can't do more in my cheeks.
Well, they look great.
Yeah, thank you.
Question 4, what is something you are super proud of yourself, in yourself and in your business journey so far?
Oh gosh, this is so hard for me.
It's a hard one for you to answer.
It's so hard. I can't actually remember what I was going to say, but I think it's just how hard I've worked.
You put your dedication.
Dedication.
And your skills.
Yeah.
And your consistency with social media.
Again, I'm like, oh, what am I proud of?
And that's all the things if you said you want me to answer that for you, that's what I would have said.
Yeah. I've worked so hard to get myself to this point. And I suppose just pushing myself out of my comfort zone. Like, being here in this podcast, like never in a million years would I thought I'd be
a year later.
Literally a year later, being on like YouTube, like, oh my God, it's so scary. But yeah, just pushing yourself. Like I'm so much more confident now, especially just on my Instagram and just generally like, going to events like the awards night. I went by myself last night. Yeah. Like, and I was a bit nervous, but walking in, I was like, it was fine. Yeah. Like you talk
and you're
to
in
people.
a room full of injectors. Like 100%, you're going to get along.
100%.
You've got something in common.
Literally. Yeah. And the Juve nurses are so beautiful. Like it's such a good, like Mel was saying last night, the director of Juve, she was saying that like we're a family and like I so believe that.
It looked so fun. It was on
so
a
fun.
boat, by the way.
Yeah.
I was just like stalking.
Yes.
I knew you and a few other injectors going. I was just like watching everyone's Instagram.
Yeah,
I
the
was
windows, like walking along like the wharf. I was like, oh, which boat will it be? Like
like
it's a nice
the
boat.
biggest one.
And it was like the windows, so you could see everything. I remember like, oh my God, there's a harbour bridge. Oh my God, the opera house. And I'm like filming like tourist.
It looked awesome.
Yeah, it was so fun.
So yeah, I think you should be really proud of what you've achieved.
Thank you.
Because I'm
That's
really
so
proud
hard
of
for
you.
me to accept that, but thank you. I
Well,
really
I'm
appreciate
proud of
it.
you.
Yeah.
So last question 5. Best advice you've been given when starting out or over the years until now?
I think the best advice, I don't know. I think it's from you. Like, just to like, celebrate the small wins. Like take a minute to, appreciate and like reward yourself with like what you've done.
Yeah.
Did I say anything else on there?
No, that was it.
No, okay, cool. Yeah.
There's actually one more question. I thought we had 5. We've actually got 6.
Oh.
So if you could go back and give yourself any advice as a newbie, what would it be?
Don't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be too hard on yourself. Like I said before, you're essentially a grad nurse again. Like you're starting in a new field, and just be prepared to work hard, but don't be too hard on yourself. Like as the years go on, like naturally you're going to get better with your skills and there's going to be trial and error. You're going to get things wrong. I got things wrong. You just learn from it. Just don't beat yourself up.
Yeah.
Just, get back up and, try something different.
Totally.
Or, so many times in business, you've got to pivot. You're like, okay, that's not working. Let's do this.
Exactly. And not letting like, trying to make everything perfect and then that being a block.
What's that like?
Moving forward.
Yeah.
Well, that's you and I, but like we're trying to work
100%.
on that, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely not good. Like, Dill's psychologist is like, babe, that's not good to be like a perfectionistic. Like, and I'm definitely like that. It's not good. Like you need to, now sometimes I don't make the bed, trying to like break those habits because bringing
That's wild.
Well, it's actually good to be a bit perfectionistic in our role, in our job.
Totally. Like with people's faces, you want to be.
you've got an eye for detail and stuff, but, just everyone's different. Everyone reacts differently to the products. There's lots of different products. You've got to find what works for you and your clients. It's a process. Just don't beat yourself up. You'll get there.
Totally.
Yay.
So that's the end of our questions.
Cool.
And the end of all our topics. Everyone happy? And we'll do the wrap up?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Yay.
Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 14 of this video podcast series. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. A huge thank you to Talisha for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
That was a great chat.
It was actually so much fun. I just feel like we're just having like a chat.
I know. Like you forget the cameras are there. You forget
kind of, maybe not. Like this big light, but...
Well, it's great for, your skin looks great. You're glowing.
100%. But no, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being here. And thank you for being my mentor. I definitely would highly recommend you to anyone. You've definitely helped support me. And I probably wouldn't be where I am if it weren't.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure mentoring you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. What camera do I look at? This one?
Bye.
Bye.
Done.